Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing a review of Bofuri. I don't want to get hurt, so I'll max out my defense. Now I must admit before going into this one, there will be soft spoiler warnings and I will be letting you know when they're coming up so you can skip by them if you want to. These spoilers, mind you, as I said, are going to be really soft and they do not affect the major storyline, so they shouldn't ruin anything even if you do listen to them. Other than that, I must admit I have watched the anime before I read the light novel, and it's what got me wanting to read this light novel in the first place. So let's get into this one. As I said, this actually has an anime adaptation. The difference between this one and most light novels that have anime is the anime came out for this one first in the winter 2020 release. The light novel itself wasn't actually translated at that point, and that's kind of unusual. So when I did a search, because I love the anime for the light novel like I often do, I couldn't find it and I was very disappointed. Then in October 2020, Yen Press announced the release of the light novel adaptation into English and that they was going to be taking up the license for it. So as you can imagine, I was very happy, and it was scheduled to be released in April 2021. Due to that, I've only just actually recently picked up the book, and as soon as I'd got it and finished my current reading, I read straight through this book. Now, before we start with the actual review, let me read the synopsis for this one so you can know a bit more about what's to come. Is she the game's last boss? Though she doesn't play many MMOs, Maple has either a natural talent or impossibly good luck, because by pouring every last stat point she has into Vitality, she's created a character who can't be hurt. Whether it's physical attacks or magic or status effects, nothing poses a real threat. In no time at all, news spreads across the server about this adorable terror who can't be defeated. While Maple may just be having fun, her broken build is sure to attract lots of unexpected attention. As you can tell from the synopsis, this is actually about an MMO, or in this case, a VR MMO, so a virtual reality one. Now, the book is very light-hearted and very fun and quick to read. In fact, the book itself only has 180 odd pages to it, and some of those pages, like most light novels, are taken up with pictures, but in this case it's also got something that I call stat boxes. Stat boxes are rectangular sections in the book that's devoted to the stats of Maple and the other characters, so they take up a lot of extra room. When you take into account those, you're probably looking at the book being about 140 to 150 pages long rather than the 180. So it really is a very short and quick read. Now, why is the reason for this? The reason for this is it's actually a web novel before it got picked up and turned into a light novel. From what I can gather, the people who published it looked at how the book was written and how they actually needed to publish this. So if we look at book 2 that's to be released later this year, that actually has a page count of 264 pages, so a lot more. If you was to combine the first book and the second book, you'd have a bigger book than most light novels in the end. So what the publishers decided to do this time was make a shorter book and then concentrate on the next one, because the author who created this never expected to be published in the first place, thus resulting in this sort of discrepancy between the book sizes. Does it affect the book itself? Not really. It's still a fun and very enjoyable read. It doesn't really matter about the size. The only thing that's slightly off-putting is the price tag for this one, because it's still the same kind of price tag you'd get for a light novel, between $10 to $15 or about £12 UK. So for a book this size, it is overly expensive. But if you're intending to get into the entire series, it's not so bad. So what is this book about? As you can probably tell from the synopsis, it's about a virtual reality MMO. Now, the MMO itself is called New World Online. Our main character, Cade, who goes by the screen name Maple in the book, doesn't really play many games. Her friend, however, Sally, is a competitive gamer. And she's the one who talks Maple into actually picking up the game and actually giving it a go with her, so it's something they can play together. To start off with, Sally isn't actually in the beginning of the book, apart from saying that she's the one who got her into this one, because she's got some studies she needs to get along with, so Maple picks up the game by herself to get a feel for it, ready for when Sally can come in. So when she actually comes to actually picking a character, she has a number of different classes to choose from, as like you do with many of these fancy kind of MMOs. One that piques her interest, mind you, is called a Great Shielder, because in this world of MMOs, it is actually possible to feel things that your character feels, although not to the extreme you would in real life if something like that was to happen to you. So you do feel a little bit of pain when you get hurt, but you also do enjoy the taste of things you eat in game and things like that. Now, Maple, going into this one, decides that she doesn't want to get hurt. So when she sees this Great Shielder, she thinks that is the perfect character for me. When it then comes to actually picking her stats, as the synopsis says, she actually pours everything into Vitality, because Vitality is your defense stat, and she completely leaves out every other stat around. So she has 0 strength, 0 agility, anything along those lines. She just pours everything into her defense. Now, as anybody who actually plays online games or fancy kind of RPG games, you know this is a stacked build and not something that a lot of people do, because it completely negates any kind of other things. So she won't have any offensive capability to actually hurt other people unless she has some sort of buff from a weapon or magical potion. Luckily, the Great Shielder class comes with a sword that gives plus 13 strength at the start, so she can actually do a bit of damage, although that is accidental and she doesn't actually know that in the beginning. Anyway, when she actually logs into the game, we end up following her on her journeys across this entire new world, and she soon gets addicted to it. She has this kind of rare collector mentality that some people have. You know, I've got this, I need to collect the entire series, this is limited edition, I want to get that one. So she has that kind of mentality going into this one. So next I'm going to be going into what I call a soft spoiler territory, but this actually happens within the first 11 pages, and it's just to describe a bit more about this book and how it works. If you want to skip by this bit, I'll leave a timestamp here so you can actually skip past. But as I said, this is a very soft spoiler and it's 11 pages in, so it's not going to really cause any major issues. So when Maple gets into the game, she starts to explore it and the world around her. This game itself is based on gaining skills and levels by actually doing things in game. So if you do something over and over again or meet certain requirements, you gain specific skills. Now, there's a number of skills that are known to everybody, which are for each and every class, which are on server boards. So people know how they can build up their class quickly and improve. And as new skills are discovered by players, some people will share them, some people won't, and you'll get new skills as you go along by doing things that you might not think about doing. Maple, never knowing how to actually play a VMMO RPG, doesn't know where to really start. So she just goes exploring. And one of the first things she does is she goes into the forest just outside of the starter town, which is filled with weak monsters. Most people go out there to hunt them to actually build up their levels. The fact that she's got very little strength or anything else and that she doesn't really know much about games leads her to coming across and not really getting into that kind of mentality to start off with, and she comes across this monster which is actually a bunny rabbit, and she actually starts playing with it. And when I say playing, I mean it's running at her and attacks her, but she doesn't feel anything. So she finds this extremely fun and adorable and spends the next hour plus actually just playing with this monster because it can't deal any damage to her. And this actually gets her first skill, and this skill actually is designed to activate when somebody fights a creature or a monster without taking damage for over 1 hour. When you get this skill, it actually increases your vitality by a large amount. So now her vitality, which is already extreme, gets even more extreme. This is why she ends up going down this route of, I'm putting all of my stats into vitality and building this unbelievable tank. In the end, the monster actually kills itself by accident by dealing damage to itself by attacking her and taking damage. So this sort of sets the mood for the entire story. We have Maple, who doesn't really know much about how these games work, just falling into these kind of skills by accident. Once she actually learns how that works, however, she does then start to do more and crazy things that she thinks might gain her some skills later down the line. In the anime, however, it doesn't portray it as this. It just portrays her as like an airhead who just stumbles into skill after skill after skill, while the light novel actually makes her a bit more calculated, the fact that she actually realizes this is how you can get new and unusual skills, so she does new and unusual things to try and find out what she can actually do and what she can actually get, while also falling into skills at the same time. In this first book, as I said, you follow Maple on a number of little adventures, including her going through her first dungeon, going through her first event, and other various little things that happen along the way by meeting other players that I won't talk about in any detail because I don't really want to go into spoilers. It then comes into the point where her friend Sally eventually joins the game and they start a party and they start adventuring together, and you see the two of them gain skills and learn things along the way while enjoying the game. The book ends as level 2 of the game opens up and the two of them actually go to fight the boss to be able to go to the next level. As I said, this is a really short book, but it was a really enjoyable read that I loved a lot. So as soon as book 2 comes out, you can guarantee I will be picking that up, and I'll look to do a follow-up review to see if it keeps on the same kind of pace as the first book and how it progresses. Anyway, thank you for watching my review today, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video.